feeling grow.
Parties to this case are Miss Rosa Green and Mr. Willie Jones. If you're not one of those people, then you should not be present. And what that means is even if you're intended to be called as a witness later, you don't get to listen to the testimony of the other witnesses. And the reason for that is because you don't get to just stand up and parrot what they said. You have to give your own version of the events. And so, Mr. Jones, I know you told us you had a witness, and I'm guessing that was Miss Timmy Jones, who was excusing herself from the room.
Yes.
Miss Green,
Yes.
I'll give the same advisement to you. If there were anybody with you in earshot, they need to leave and be seated in another room. And if you intend to have them testify, you can get them. I'm going to go ahead and ask the two of you to raise your right hands for me, please. And Miss Green, I'm sending you a prompt to unmute because I think you'll need to click that so I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. Do each of you swear or affirm that the statements you make to the court today will be the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
All right. You can both put your hands down. Thank you. All right. Ms. Green, this is your petition and your burden of proof. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we begin with you. You and Mr. Jones live relatively close to each other in the Chedworth area of DeKalb County. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long have you lived at that location?
9 years come December the 23rd.
Okay. Was Mr. Jones there when you moved in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how close are your two homes to each other?
Right next to each other. Maybe.
Okay. So side by side.
Yes, sir.
So you two share a property line.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me what led to you filing your petition.
Well, it's been what you might say an ongoing thing that has just gotten worse over me following directions from the officers telling me what to do. It seems to be that not speaking, not saying anything, not bringing attention to me has actually pissed him off, more or less, to the fact that he's just done got where you can't pull in your driveway, you can't come out your door, you can't stand around.
Okay, well, here's what the deal. I'm going to jump in here because we need to deal in specific incidents. And so
Okay.
Let me tell you what I'm picky about and what I'm not picky about.
Okay.
I am not picky about dates. And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter to me if something happened on June 3rd or June 5th.
Okay.
You can just say early June. But what I don't want anybody here today to feel pressure about is, everybody, especially these days with phones, everybody says, let me go through my phone and I can tell you. No, we don't need to do that. But you can tell me your best guess. And what I tell people is that first thing that pops into your head, whatever frame of reference it is probably true insofar as it's accurate. So if you said, it was around Father's Day, or, it was last spring or something like that, that's probably going to be right. Okay. Now, y'all might disagree as to the nature of an encounter or what something meant or whatever. But in terms of just getting what I'm looking for in that respect is a general timeline.
Okay.
Now, where I do want specifics is when we talk through the incidents and what happened, I want specifics. What I don't want us to do is, this is how I feel, or this is what it's like, or this is how things are now, because the way things are now is dictated by things that you've interpreted from past events. And so what I need is to hear about past events. Now, in your petition, you talk about an incident that took place in June. Was that an incident that you were present for, or something that was relayed to you by your stepson?
Yeah, I was in the house, but I turned on the ring. He was pulling up coming from the football practice.
Your stepson?
My stepson,
Okay. And what happened?
And when he got out the car, he said that Willie was looking at them and saying something of the sort that he want to shoot somebody. So I called the police because I didn't know what else to do in that incident because he's only 15. And when the officer got here, I allowed the officer to look at my ring on my phone. I mean, on the door, I have a ring on the door. And my son was on the porch asking him, why do he keep on bothering him? And just a little while after that, I think it was around, I want to say like late May. They was all out in the yard fussing and going on. And the next day when I came home, him and his oldest son was on the porch and they was watching me get out my car. And I got out the car. I looked over there first because it just didn't seem right that the both of them would be standing up there, you know, like that. Intimidating, that's what it was. And I got out the car.
So help me understand, they're on their own porch on their own property, correct?
Yeah. Every time
what?
Every time anything happened, he ain't gonna come off the porch. He's not gonna direct where he directed this one to me. He said, what you looking at? You want this? And he jerked his private part. And that was just so, oh my God. I don't know how I felt at that time, but it made me so mad that I told him, I said, I'm going to tell my partner. I'm going to tell my partner you did that to me. And the next time.
Okay. The next time.
And the next time Mr. James was cutting my grass, this was late August. He was cutting my grass and I come out to pay him. And Mr. Jones says, you ain't good for nothing but sucking dick. You want to suck mines? I'm sorry to say it like that, Judge, but that's what he said.
To tell the truth. So
and that's what he said. And you know, they just can't come out your house. Can't come out your house. You can't leave your house. You can't have people over. I don't even know what his problem is.
The camera that you showed the police, is it just video or is it video and audio?
It's video and audio. My stepson telling him, why are you bothering us? And that's, you know what, and every time I have told the officers, I say, if you standing on your porch and you're talking your ring, he got a ring too. That ring over his door would probably be so much incriminating damage toward him because I'm telling you, nobody bothers this man. We do exactly what the officers tell us every time. Build a fence.
Okay. So what did the police do in response to the complaint that came through your stepson?
Well, he gave us a card with a police report on there. He went over there and talked to Mr. Jones, and Mr. Jones, again, he denies everything. He is always somebody bothering him. So, you know, the officer just said, well, keep raising your son the way you're raising him. Because when the officers were here, the pastor came to pick him up for summer camp. Because he went, not only do we do football practice at 7 a.m., when he get out of football practice at 1:30, the pastor or one of the staff come from church and pick him up and he goes up to summer camp. You know, where it's over now, but that was his schedule from May to like the last week in July. That was his schedule. But Your Honor, when I tell you, I am so trying to do everything to please this man, make sure nothing get thrown off balance or just make him angry. Because you know, his wife said to me one time, you know, it don't take but a little bit to make him angry. Who are you talking about? That's your husband. You cannot tell me that you allow your husband to be so disrespectful to another woman. He said back here I was videotaping the car. It was in July, the first week in July. I was taping the car because I had when he got it fixed, showing my partner the car. And I walk around the car. He said, "You can smell a female dog when they pull up." I'm thinking that he's talking to his wife because she's right there in the door. I'm thinking he's talking to her. But then when he said roof, roof, I said, "Oh my God, he's talking to me." And she allowed that. I wish one of my children, anybody, would walk out this house and disrespect my household by being messy to somebody else. We have to live here.
So have there been any statements other than the one involving your stepson that have been violent or threatening in nature?
No, but telling somebody to suck your private part or jacking your private part, that was the last straw for me. That's why I got this, because I mean, oh, who does that? You don't even catch 5-year-olds doing that kind of mess. And this man is 64 years old. And the only thing he got to say is, "I'm going to be the last man standing." Well, I don't know how that's possible, because I paid for my house 2 years ago. I paid for it from my late husband, from money that I received from the VA. I paid for my house. Where am I going? But this has to stop. You will not be the last man standing thinking this. It can be your circle, right? But nobody can stand by and can't come out their house, can't have company. The children, he called the boys gay. Look at them little gay motherfuckers. You know, just, oh my God, I just don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn to Mr. Jones for a minute. Are there questions before we turn to the portion of the proceedings where you'll be testifying or calling witnesses, Mr. Jones? Are there questions you believe I need to ask Ms. Green?
Do I have any questions?
I'm asking if there are questions you believe I need to ask Ms. Green.
Yes, sir, it is. She's been here 9 years. My question is, when did all this start? Because she was here 9 years. For 6 years, she was out sending packages. I've never said anything disrespectful to this lady, and I've been here 21 years.
This is a whole lot of talk, but I think the question that this is question time and only question time. So your question is, when did all this start?
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes, that's it. Mm-hmm.
All right, Ms. Green, when did all this start? Your estimate?
I estimate it started, I want to say 4.5, maybe 5 years now. It started
as a trigger point.
Sir?
Is there a particular event or moment that you would say is kind of where this began?
Yes, sir. When my boys, I want to say they was 5 and 6 years old, out playing basketball in the front, and the ball kept rolling over there in his yard. The ball maybe would hit his tire or hit the lower part of his car or something like that. That's where it started. And we started not letting them play ball out there. And ever since then, the officers tell us, don't let them play out there in the front. You have to put the basketball in your yard. They take it down the street now, though. Sometimes they play up to the driveway. But that's where it started from.
That's all right, Mr. Your audio is a little challenging for me to hear and understand at times. That could be an issue on my end. It could be an issue on your end, but I can understand fairly well. Do you have other questions that you want me to ask Ms. Green?
Yes, sir, I do. In my videos, it shows that she said that there's been no threats. Nobody done. I sent you videos, copies, where they were standing in the yard. Do you recall where they were threatening to do bodily harm and bodily injury? And the police report stated also, do you recall that the police stated I was standing in my door? I stayed in my house.
You're talking about an interaction you had with who, Mr. Jones?
with with everybody over there. It was in the yard threatening. And Miss Green's
Okay,
house.
are you talking about the police report from the 31st or something else?
Yes, sir.
The police report from the 31st. So she cannot give
Yes, sir.
statements about the police report itself. But I guess I'll ask Miss Green, did somebody threaten to harm Mr. Jones on the 31st?
Not to my recollection.
All right. Well, that's her answer to her recollection. You'll have a chance to present evidence and testimony of your own, Mr. Jones. What other questions do you have for Mr. Green? Miss Green, excuse me. I'm sorry.
How can I say anything when I got blinds around my house like I'm in a hut? I'm living like I'm in a hut. There's trees all around the house. And that's
how can you,
pictures
and your
of
question
videos
is, how can you what?
Oh my
How
God.
can I say anything to this lady? And there's blinds around my house. I have cameras around my house.
That's not a question that makes sense to me. We're not going to ask, how can I do this? How can I do that? That's not for her to say. She either says you did or you didn't, and that's for me to decide whether I believe whose testimony I believe. So,
Judge, this man, Mr. Willie, has a sign on the side of his house pointing at my front door saying, "Mind your own damn business, dumb shit." If he would do, Judge, and I promise you, if he would do exactly what his sign says, that sign has been up there for over 18 months now. I use it as a motivational piece. I sure do. Every time I step out my door, I look at that sign and I use it as a motivational piece. But if he would do what that sign says, everything would be all right. I promise you. I promise you, everything would be all right.
Good talk. All right. Are there other questions, Mr. Jones?
Nope.
All right. Ms. Green, do you have
every time
I have testify?
Sir?
Are there other people who you intend to have testify during today's hearing? Other witnesses that I need to bring in?
Sir?
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you, Ms. Green. Mr. Jones, this is your opportunity to present evidence or testimony. When each witness is finished testifying, then they're subject to questioning by the other party, the same way that Ms. Green was a moment ago. You can present your testimony and your witnesses in whatever order. If you want to go first or last or whatever, then you can do that. I know that you said you had Ms. Jones and wish to have her testify as well. So how would you like to begin, with your testimony or Ms. Jones?
Right now, I'm a little confused at what I'm doing. I presented all the evidence I could present. I presented.
No, you haven't presented any evidence. You put some stuff in advance. So this is the actual hearing. You don't. So let me walk through this. I know you sent in some exhibits and whatnot. Those have not been presented in open court. They have not been reviewed by the other party. They have not been reviewed by the court to make sure that those things are admissible and appropriate for this hearing. For all I know, you've sent in things that are inappropriate or can't be authenticated. That means we can't verify that they are what they purport to be. And so the things you've submitted may not be appropriate as evidence in this hearing. What happens in these cases is that the witnesses, you've already been sworn in. If Ms. Jones testifies, she will be sworn in as well. You provide a verbal statement. You don't get to provide a written statement that you send. I know you did this, but your written statement can't just be submitted in advance and stand on its own. It's given through testimony and then vetted through questioning. And so for the hearing, I would hear from you if you wish to make your statement. And then you would be questioned. I would hear from Miss Jones. If she wished to make a statement, she could go before you or after you. And and then she would be questioned after she finished giving her statement. And then I would, if there is evidence or documents or records that are presented alongside the testimony, then I will rule on those as they are brought to my attention or as they are shared with the court. So, would you like to start with your testimony?
Can I get 1 second to try to explain to him what you're telling him? Because he's confused right now. What
Mr.
he's
Jones,
telling you
what
is,
are you? Take your best shot, ma'am.
okay. What he's telling you is, now that she's done hers, you read the statement. When it comes to your evidence, you ask him to look at the different videos and pictures. He'll rule as to whether or not he's going to use them, allow you to use them, and then you, him, and Ms. Green are going to look at the videos for the evidence that you have. So you haven't submitted any evidence. All we did was upload some things, some documents to the court. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, Mr. Jones, do you want to have Miss Jones go first, or do you want to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, then Miss Jones will have to relocate, and when it's her turn, you can just go and get her. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Mr. Jones, you have been sworn in. You've been neighbors with Miss Green for 9+ years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me what's been going on from your viewpoint between your household and Miss Jones's household. Miss Green's household. I am so sorry.
Okay. The police has been called to our resident about cameras. She told the officer that the cameras were facing the house. And code enforcement had gave notice. Code enforcement, we come to us and never gave us notice. They have no record of anything concerning cameras in the house. We also and said the officer was excited if we moved the cameras. I present exhibits A1, A2, and A3 concerning that.
All right. So
to create space.
Hang on. No, once you start talking about exhibits, we got to make sure we're talking about the right things. So we're going to pull up an exhibit and screen share it. Madam Clerk, just pick something, I guess. We'll see what we have. Whatever you think would have been one. And then we'll screen share it and see what it is. All right. So this is a written statement you provided. I'm going to hear your testimony, so we don't need to do a written statement. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Very good. So we're going to move on to your next exhibit. Okay. So this is a police report that you submitted, and this police report is from the end of July. And so this was an incident where you called the police. Is that correct, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you called the police interviewed you, took a statement, and then they declined to make any arrests. Is that correct?
Well, they said the only reason they could not make an arrest because they had to identify the subject.
Okay. Can I see page 2, please? And so this was about an incident you had with an unknown male at your property, correct?
Yes, sir. He was out in the cul-de-sac. And on
so
the video,
this unknown male made verbal threats to you.
Yes, sir.
All right. And so that was not, so no part of that depicted an actual incident or altercation between you and Miss Green, correct?
No, but they were a part of it because they
were affiliated with her. With that.
Yes.
Okay. And then I think, was there one more exhibit? And this was this the police report from June for the incident with Miss Green's stepson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we see page 2 and rotate it? And so the police's police reviewed video footage from both of you as part of this incident. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the determination they made is that there was not sufficient evidence to bring charges as a result of that incident, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay. So to put it another way, nobody went to jail that day. Nobody, from the evidence that everybody's presented today, it doesn't sound like anybody has been arrested for any conduct toward the other party.
No,
No.
Okay. Well, it's good to find
But
common ground,
I
facts
did-
that we
I
can
brought
agree
it
on
out.
there are facts. Mr. Jones, your audio, it sounds like if you've ever been to a drive-through where the speaker box is broken, that's a little bit that's where we're at right now.
Okay, brought that to you for a reason. The statement that was made on here, there's two different statements, if you can read them. Those statements, one said, I threatened to blow her son's head. Then statement two said he overheard somebody going to blow somebody's head off. This is both to the police on the statement. But the statement that came to the court was that he said, said on the statement to the court, paragraph number 4, Javante, my stepson, who is 15, he told him he wanted to shoot somebody. So I called the police. This is what she made to the court. But when she made to the police, she said he wanted to blow somebody's head off. The kid said he overheard him say he wanted to blow somebody's head off.
Which one was it?
It's not my statement. These are statements of one statement is on the police report 613. The other statement is to the court on paragraph number 4.
All right. Well, I've got all the documents and evidence, so I can review those and make the appropriate determinations myself. So here's what we're going to do next. Miss Green, this is your opportunity to have questions for Mr. Jones. If you have questions, you will tell me what you want those questions to be. I will sometimes rephrase them or reframe them in a way that I think makes them more helpful to me or more relevant to the case as it's being decided. Mr. Jones, once you've been given the question from me, it will be your turn to answer. The important part of this process is that everybody is a little bit patient for the delay with the video so that everybody can hear each other and the audio can come through without being garbled or us accidentally talking over each other. Because sometimes when people are too eager to answer, they jump in too quickly and then nobody understands anything. And that includes me. So, Ms. Green, do you have questions for Mr. Jones that you think the court should be asking?
Yes, sir. The only thing I want to understand is, what did I do to deserve all that profanity, all that messing with his private part, even inviting me to his body part? What did I do to deserve that? And how can we move forward to get this resolved? Because
all right, well, I'm going to ask half of that. So Mr. Jones wants to know what your motives are when you make sexually suggestive remarks to her.
Your Honor, I can answer. I have never said anything to this lady disrespectful. I have neighbors that have been in this neighborhood. I've been here 21 years. My neighbor next door, 18 years. All the rest of the people have been here over 20 years. I never said anything disrespectful to this lady. And for how we can get along, Your Honor, I've had no problem with nobody, nowhere in this neighborhood. I respect people regardless. I have no history of that.
Jesus.
I have no history of that. She's talking about how to get along. Your Honor, how we can get along is I mind my business, she mind my business. I don't care what I'm over. I can stay up for 50 years and never open my mouth to this lady. And it don't even matter. I am retired. I'm trying to enjoy my life. I have two disabled kids I'm trying to care for, and I don't have to be here going through with a headache. I don't. All this I did prior to that is a lie. She puts the statements that she done made is criminal. And I would like if they could turn this over to this point, we can get some polygraph tests, and I'll prove it. I'm telling the truth. I will prove it. I will take that polygraph test any time. I have never said anything disrespectful to this lady. I got the statements on the video. The only thing we had a conversation about, I asked you taking the, I said, are you threatening me to come to the street? Are you threatening me? No, they said just left. It's all on video. Otherwise, I said nothing to say. Nothing at all. I don't appreciate being statements about sex. My wife has been right here. Why would I make a statement like that to you? I don't even
That is
before you got married. And I had problems.
Hey, everybody quiet.
Your Honor, he does it in front of his.
What did I just say?
Yes, sir.
So I gave a whole speech at the beginning about being choosy about your questions because you're going to ask questions and get answers you don't like. And now you've asked a question that's not helpful and you've got an answer you don't like. And now you two are talking over each other and squabbling instead of actually producing information for this court that can help decide the case. So I've heard as much of Mr. Jones's articulation. He predictably denied the conduct that you allege that he did, which is what we're having this hearing to decide in the first place. Now, what other questions do you have for Mr. Jones?
Just have him to leave me alone. Don't say anything to me when I come out that door. He said he wanted to be there for his disabled kids. He sure have a room.
All right, this is the time for questions, not argument and requests of the court. So I understand where you're coming from, but we're not at that portion of the proceeding. So Mr. Jones, if we were in the courtroom, this would be the part where I would tell you could step down from the witness stand, so to speak. In this situation, what it really means is you're going to slide over a little bit and make room for Miss Jones so that she can make her statement. So you can go bring her back in, and then both of you can stay frame her on camera. All right, Miss Jones, I'm going to ask if you would please raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm your statements today will be the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. What can you tell us about interactions you've observed between Mr. Jones and Miss Green?
Okay, what I can tell you is she's very correct. This whole thing started over basketballs hitting our car. And they were going at a pretty high rate of speed, a couple times marks. I went over personally to speak with Miss Jones, Miss Green, try to talk to her, mother to mother. Basically, kids can be kids, yes, but don't want our property destroyed while kids are being kids. She told me at that time that she never had a problem with my husband. We agreed that we were going to keep our children from destroying property. And, like a couple of times her kid was, I did the gun thing at our home, that's on the porch. And so we were going to stop our children from making rude gestures, and we were going to be friends and live comfortably together. Because our homes are close together and we both have front porches, it's not unlikely that we're both on the porch at the same time. So it's necessary to live and let live. That's what she and I decided when we talked. As far as her and my husband's communications, they have argued back and forth. Nobody has threatened. There's been no sexual overtures. The time on the 28th that they had the police report for, she and her husband and somebody who arrived in the car with her husband were all yelling at my husband, telling him to come out there. I was saying, come in the house. She was howling, go ahead, beat his ass, I got bail. So I was like, and you can watch the videos. They were the first 3 that we sent. If you watch the videos, you'll see them out there arguing. You'll hear me saying, come in the house. They're not worth it. And you hear her saying, beat his ass. And then at one point she said, I invited him to the street. And that was the very first time we've ever had any violence discussed. Or normally it's just leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone.
All right. Before we turn it over for other questions, Ms. Jones, any questions, or excuse me, any other things to discuss that I haven't thought to ask questions about yet?
No, like I said, our home goes together. We have to live peaceably. The 28th was the first time there was any threat to violence, and this protection order came right after we sent the police over to try to force them to identify the gentleman who got out the car with her husband. And then this came, we were like, what? So we, produced our stuff and did all right that we had to do.
All right, Ms. Green, do you have questions that you believe the court needs to ask Ms. Jones?
Yeah, she said I invited him to the street, which I did, but ask her why. Why did I invite him to the street?
Well, that would be
It's
what's
not
going on
video.
in your brain, so she can't really speak to that unless you said it out loud. Did Ms. Jones, did she say why she wanted to do?
Yes.
It's on the video. She clearly says why she's doing it. Yes, she said.
Which is why.
I see you move those cameras. She said, I see you move those cameras. That's what on the video, she said, when my husband said, are you threatening me? She said, I see you move those cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Those are her exact words. Watch the video, it's right there. It's not he say, she say, it's on the video. It's direct say.
All right, Ms. Green, what other questions do you have?
Judge, I don't have no questions, because if they send a video in with me inviting him to the street, it is clearly gonna state over and over, because I said it over and over. You invite me to suck your dick, bring your ass to the street. I will beat your ass, because at that point, like I said, that was just enough. You done jack your private part. Now you invite me, and I did. I invited him to that street. I sure did. And if they sit that video in there, you're gonna hear it over and over and over. Why? And I don't understand why she can't say it. She's talking about some camera. Wasn't about no cameras, because the officers came out there like about a week and a half prior and made him turn those cameras he had directly to my door. That had nothing to do with no cameras. It was all about him inviting me, asking me, did I want to suck his penis? That's what that was about. So if they sent you that video, you'll see, Your Honor. So I don't have no questions for her.
Well, the problem we have is that our videos are highly restricted because videos take up a lot of storage space. And so a lot of times the server will reject those up front. So let's start with this. For the Joneses, when do you think you sent those videos in, and how long were those videos?
Yesterday, there were 3 different videos. The first one was very short, maybe 2 minutes. The other ones were maybe 3 minutes.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you 2 minutes is not a short video. 2 minutes is a considerable video. So in terms of how the server reacts. Now, were these all sent as a single message, or were they sent as messages?
I said we sent them one at a time and as a group.
Okay, and it was yesterday.
We sent them twice.
Miss Broom, have we been able to receive any of those?
Judge, we only have pictures and those was not submitted because they were sent incorrectly. So they were not sent in PDF. And on today at 8:49 a.m., they replied to let them know that they need to resend them in PDF, as well as the videos being too long. But if you would like for me to show the pictures that I do see that's not in PDF, I can, but the videos were not accepted. Judge, I'm sorry, did you hear me?
Yeah, so the videos weren't accepted. How how short do they typically need to be trimmed down and whatnot?
Yes, and they advised them at, like I said, at 8:49 a.m. this morning on how to do it.
But how short do they need to be? I know they told them how, but
That
like
I'm not
15,
sure.
20 seconds, right? I mean,
Right, somewhere around there.
yeah. All right. Well, here's the issue. Ms. Green says she doesn't have any more questions. Mr. Jones, you don't have any other witnesses you intend to call, correct? Okay.
No, sir.
All right. Well, these are the most challenging cases that we because that is a system of laws and really a scenario that I don't feel the law is well adapted to deal with. And what we have before us is a stalking order. And that is defined as a knowing and willful course of conduct. And it carries on from there, directed at a specific person, causing emotional distress, placing a person in reasonable fear for the safety, for their safety by establishing a pattern of harassing, intimidating behavior, which serves no legitimate purpose. And what I will say in this regard, the situation we have on here, be as charitable as possible, is incredibly unpleasant. But the challenge I have is that, this is a situation where outside eyes have been brought in, and not just brought in to hear from the people, but to hear from the people and have a chance to review videos, because both of you have cameras that are up and operational, even if those videos didn't make it before the court. And the situation that I am faced with is one where one party alleges threats were made, and then the other party denies it, and then police review and find, well, it didn't really fit anybody's story, which is kind of a new one in some ways. I mean, we always have a saying, there are three sides to every story: the petitioner side, the respondent side, and the truth. And here's a situation where police have come out, had video from both of you, and said, well, it's not really in line with what either of you were saying was going on. But what I will say is this: the issues that you two are having surrounding this property at the moment are not issues for which I think it's appropriate to extend or issue a stalking protective order. And so I'm not going to do that. What else I will tell you both is that each of you is sitting here on Zoom today, having raised your hand and sworn to tell the truth, that you don't want anything to do with the other, you don't want to talk to the other, and you don't want the other one to talk to you. And so to the extent that I can look both of you in the eye right now and say, you promised.
Mm-hmm.
You both promised.
I promise.
What I tell people in situations is that I don't say no in these cases, but what I say is not yet. And what that means is, even though my finding today is that the things that have taken place do not rise to the level of a pattern or course of conduct of harassing, intimidating behavior to threaten another party's safety, that does not prevent a party from coming back to the court with additional evidence to then say, well, what about now? Does this establish a pattern sufficient for an order to issue? To be quite frank, and I say this with some resignation in my voice, it feels like we will be seeing y'all again. I hope I'm wrong. I have a feeling that when you two are not around each other, you're both very nice people. And I have a feeling that when you two are around each other, you're very different people than you probably are with literally anyone else in your lives. And I say that without assigning any blame or finger pointing or anyone else. Miss Green, the things that you have talked about today are concerning, they're troubling, and they are understandably upsetting. And at the same time, Georgia's law in this area is configured in a way that it only allows for the court to intervene with this type of order under certain conditions and in certain circumstances based on things that have already occurred. And so while I very understand your feelings and your concerns in this situation, the situation as it has unfolded so far, not adequate, does not rise to a legal threshold necessary for me to extend the order at this time. And so the case will be closed out for the time being. That can take 48 to 72 hours. And until that is fully done and the sheriff receives the paperwork from me, understand that if police run the information, it shows up as valid. I wish you both luck coexisting moving forward, separately coexisting moving forward. And the things that you each say that you want, if you're being honest, then you can have them. All it takes is silence and restraint. There is nothing wrong with a polite acknowledgement, just a nod in that general direction, because we get these cases, and I've had situations where they say, well, I was walking by and they didn't acknowledge me or do anything. And it's like, well, they might have been trying not to, because y'all have had so many other issues. And so what I will say is, if nobody wants to speak, there's no reason to speak, not even a good morning, because then somebody might feel like you said it with a tone in your voice that maybe you didn't intend, but maybe they feel because y'all have a history with each other.
Exactly.
It's an opportunity for a fresh start, separately but close by, because that's the hand that everyone has been dealt. And so I wish you both luck in that. We're going to place you both in the waiting room where you will be free to log off when you have concluded your business with the court for today.
Will you hand me my screen box?
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Ma'am? Ma'am? Can you hear it?
No.
Okay.
I have no patience for that. But trust me, out of the day, I'm sitting up here, I'm the one that needs the grace.